Um, Hello everyone. My name is Sze-Fung Lee. I'm an independent researcher specializing in Chinese hybrid warfare. So today I'm going to talk about Chinese disinformation and electoral interference. And let's get right to it. So to begin with, I think perhaps we can start to talk about what Chinese disinformation and influence operations actually target or what they wanted to achieve. So in general speaking, Chinese disinformation tries to promote a more positive image of China while rebuking Western allegations of its violations on human rights and crackdown on democracy. Um, like this photo on the left is actually a meme published by the Global Times, which is a Chinese state media. They're portraying the Uyghurs as living a happy lives while they're actually facing genocide. So this is the kind of narrative that they often push forward to rebuke quote unquote Western allegation of their human rights abuse. So by time to time, they try to steer public opinion into their favored direction, especially in times of critical political issues or during election period. The other agenda is to generate an alternative narratives and to magnify division in our liberal democracies. So on the left-hand side is also a meme from the Global Times, a Chinese state media agency. This is a picture during the pro-democracy protest in Hong Kong during the 2019. So they basically say that the protesters are actually CIA agents. They are rioters trying to destroy the city. But when they face the international media, they're trying to play the victim. And this kind of disinformation has been spreading on social media at that times. So it also helps to undermine our support for those oppressed by Chinese authoritarianism, such as giving foreign aid or condemning the human rights abuse and crackdown on democracy at those times. So let's dive into how PRCs manipulate different tactics, techniques, and procedures to conduct foreign interference and electoral interference. First, this is a case during last year, the presidential and legislative elections in Taiwan. So there are multiple tactics in a certain influence operation campaign. And Chinese propaganda machine usually likes to amplify certain kind of presidential candidates and that are more in line with their interests. And usually they like to edit them and edit those speeches into short reels and disseminate on Chinese social media platforms. This is a screenshot of a TikTok post posted by Strict Plus. Strict Plus is a TikTok account controlled by the Fujian Province Radio and Television Bureau, which is managed by the Chinese Fujian Province government, indeed. They cited a VP candidate's comment that aligns with their narratives of like the Taiwan Strait crisis is created by the administration, etc., etc. And then they edited into the short reels and then filled it on TikToks and then amplified their kind of preferred narratives. While TikTok has labeling for transparency, this account wasn't labeled as foreign agents, which is they're hiding their affiliations to portray themselves as independent media, to portray them like I'm having a really objective stance, reporting about the fact when they're not indeed. So this is the same account publishing other presidential candidates' speech while eliminating or deleting arguments that are not in favor of Beijing. So these are like really common tactics they use during the election period. I'm sure you guys are really tech savvy, so there's been a lot of use of AI and in particular deepfakes into the manipulations of public opinions and trying to interfere support for certain candidates. And we've been seeing more and more deepfakes video try to deplete a candidate to certain actions or certain speech that they never really say about it. So when we talk about Chinese influence operation, this is a very classic tactics of the Chinese state entity. This cross-platform political spam network is called Spamforge. It is linked to China's Ministry of Public Security. They are on basically all social media platforms, including Western ones like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Medium, or Chinese one like if you can name it, you can find it there. So during the last US election in 2024, Spamforge impersonate a lot of local Americans, like they kind of portray themselves as local voters to spread disinformation on certain candidates that although they're not supporting certain party, no matter it's the Biden administration or Trump, but they're trying to explore divided opinion, public opinion on the different social and political issues like gun control, immigration, trading, etc., etc. So I'm guessing most of the people would be most interested in how PRC disinformation could manipulate our election in Canada. But what I've been seeing in the past 2 weeks is that there are actually disinformation on both sides, both on the liberals and the conservatives, but a little bit more on the liberals. But there are inconsistent narratives and the objectives are unclear right now. It seems like the PRC is not supporting certain party, but they're trying to deploy the tactics that they used similar in the US election last year, which is to divide public opinion, to magnify division in our liberal society, to undermine our democratic values in general. But there is one exception, which is to target certain candidates that they really hate. So for instance, this guy, Joe Tang, he's a Canadian Hong Konger. He has been wanted by the Hong Kong government under the national security law because of his support on pro-democracy movement a few years back then. So there has been some disinformation fueled by Hong Kong great media and key opinion leaders online on Facebook and on WeChat and Weibo. They basically say that, okay, this guy is wanted by the quote-unquote national security law, and that's why he's a fugitive. And if a fugitive has been elected as a MP, that will be a disaster to the whole Canadian Parliament. So they have been trying to spread disinformation to discredit the candidate and also to delegitimize his candidacy as a legitimate candidate for the election. So you can see that on the left-hand side, there are edited photos of the poster. His poster with conservatives, having a cross saying that we won't vote for him and stuff like that. So we've talked about how the previous tactics of what we've been observing in the past 2 years, but how our future PRC influence operation is actually going to look like. I think with emerging technologies, there's going to be a few trends that we should be aware of. The first one is deepfakes for electoral interference. And usually is the deflection of politicians and experts to spread confusion and to suppress certain political discourse. This is not especially a PRC cases, but there's this fake Biden robocall telling voters to skip the primary election in New Hampshire, and also deepfakes of Joe Biden last year. This is actually a very fun video.
Have I ever told you the story of the magical pistachio? I got lost in the grocery store and couldn't find my way out. But that's when I saw it, a glowing pistachio. Have I ever told you the story?
So this is actually an AI-generated deepfake video of Biden, and I think we're gonna see more and more that this kind of deepfakes for electoral interference from the Chinese side, because the AI development in China has been spreading rapidly. You can see from this photo, there are 6 anchors on a television broadcast, but actually all 6 of them are AI-generated anchors, if you can spot the difference. So there has been more and more deliberate use of AI-generated anchors. And I think that in the upcoming future, we'll be seeing not only fake news, but also being spread by fake anchors and maybe fake witness, well, deployed by deepfakes as well. Lastly, this is a scary thought, but I think this is what we're gonna see, maybe not in the upcoming election, but in the future. That is the use of deepfakes to depict some chaotic scenes. This photo is actually a fact-checked disinformation during the presidential and legislative elections in Taiwan last year. So they basically say that in southern part of Taiwan, at the day of elections, there have been multiple stabbing cases in the polling station, and they use this photo to depict the incidents to support their accusations. But this photo is actually an old edited photo from a Chinese state media called Hacknight, which is controlled by the Fujian Chinese provincial government. So these photos, after some time, they're proven to be disinformation. But this is also having a little bit of impact for the people to participate in the democratic process. Like, I don't think this is going to happen, but I mean, imagine if you got a text message with a video saying that there's a stabbing case in Dundas polling stations. Would you be willing to, risk your life for voting that vote? I mean, I don't think this is going to happen with PRC having clear objectives, agendas to interfere a particular riding here, but this could be something that we will be seeing in the future when PRC have a clear strategic objectives, or they have some motivations to, achieve some kind of agenda. So this is something I think would be interested into looking into more and thinking more about it. So yeah, that would be my presentation today. And thanks for listening. Happy to answer any questions if there's any. Thank you.
Are we going to audio actually? Yeah. I'm going to assume. Pat, can you all hear me online? Oh, okay, then good. Sorry.
Yes, we can.
So getting into the next part, thank you again for that lovely presentation. We'll be answering and doing questions now. So we're going to do 3 in person and then 3 online. Online, if you have a question, just pop it into the chat, and our MC will be able to reroute you. We're going to start over here for in-person questions. Pardon? Oh, I forgot to ask. It's okay. Do you want us to record the questions, or we can just opt out from the record?
Yeah, I'm good with both.
Okay. Yeah. We can record the questions.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. I don't think it's just specific to the Chinese area. There's a lot of deep fakes and lack of authenticity around the world. So like, where do you see us fighting this pandemic essentially in 5 years? Do we need a completely different internet away from AI? Or what is the solution in 5 years that you see?
Sorry, what's your last question?
What is the solution in 5 years that you see? Like, is there a solution that you see to this, or are we all just going to be manipulated?
I think we will definitely see a lot more of AI generated operations, including like inauthentic behaviors, coordinated inauthentic behaviors across different social media platforms, and manipulations of algorithms to push for certain narratives that in favor of whoever control that social media, and a lot more censorship, for instance. And I think, to be honest, deepfakes are growing more and more sophisticated, and it's not like we can distinguish them with counting fingers and blinking eyes and stuff like that right now. And so I think it would be very hard for like a human to detect those kind of disinformation. So I guess the only solution is better resilience building, a more professional fact-checking center that could leverage tools to maybe AI tools as well to detect those kind of images and disinformation, and also educations to be inoculate certain kind of fake news, to really think about like having critical thinking of what the content or what the agenda that piece of information is going to bring to you. So I feel like that is the only kind of solution I can think of right now.
Thank you very much.
Yes. No? Okay. Does anyone else have a question within the room? Oh, over here.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I thought it was really interesting. I'm just wondering like how much we know about how like logistically the disinformation is being produced. Like, is it being produced by a centralized organization, or is it like multiple independent groups, or like do we know anything about it? Oh, sorry. Should I repeat the question? Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I was wondering about like how the information is being produced, like if it's being produced by a centralized source, or if it's like multiple independent organizations, or something like that. Yeah.
If it's like Chinese influence operation in general, I think there have been like a couple of instances. First, if it's like a big event, like the military drills around Taiwan in early April, then those kind of disinformation are usually centralized. They are operated by, let's say, the Taiwan Affairs Office, the Propaganda Department, or United Front Work Department, and those kind of state central entities. But sometimes they also have decentralized network or provincial city level kind of operations that take opportunities of certain incidents and amplify them as operations to, align with their narratives.
Thank you.
We're gonna do one more question in person and take it over to online. Okay, this way.
Thank you. Actually, on the first one, we couldn't hear all of it back. Did you say it's centralized, or is it in other countries? They got offices or agencies in other countries as well?
No, I'm speaking in terms of Chinese disinformation. They usually have two instances. Like if there's like big, large scale operations, like around Taiwan, military drills, that kind of stuff is usually centralized with, mobilizing different state entities and media to push forward that propaganda. But sometimes it's also on a lower level, like provincial, city, or county level, that they spread this different kind of disinformation on their own initiative to take opportunities of certain accidents and make it into an incident.
Oh, great. Thank you. And my question is, sorry if you could repeat any stats. Just curious, like how many pieces of information, disinformation, like daily, yearly, have you come across any stats?
In Canada?
Yes. or any stats that you have, just curious.
I personally didn't count the pieces, but
Even a general sense.
I think if it's, I'm not sure about Canada, but I've read studies about Taiwan is like thousands daily a week. Yeah.
Thousands a day.
Yeah.
Oh my. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was in person. We'll come back, but I just want to do a check online. If anyone has any questions?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions here. First one
Lovely.
is from Paul. You said that the PRC tries to divide public opinion. Do you have examples of this for this Canadian election?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
So a question from Paul. You said that the PRC tries to divide public opinion. Do you have examples of this for this Canadian election?
Sorry, can you repeat that? The sound is not.
Sure. Regarding the PRC dividing public opinion, we were just wondering, do you have examples of this for the current election in Canada?
Okay, got it. Okay, so I think from what I've been seeing on the Chinese information space, it's mainly about amplifying the trade war with United States and also kind of amplifying the housing issues and immigration issues in Canada. It generally doesn't have a clear objective of favoring a certain political party, but just to generate more, polarized opinions in general.
Okay, and then we have another question from Anna, and this one has a few parts, so I'll read through here. What do you think the barriers are for the government to legislate to rule out popular propaganda platforms like WeChat and TikTok from Canada? The US did it for the pandemic. What is stopping our government from banning Weibo, WeChat, and TikTok from Canada when PRC has blocked all other media platforms but their own? Also, what are the safeguards our electoral information when our own political parties use disinformation against competing parties?
I think first of all, we Canadians have a democratic society, liberal structure that we have freedom of speech, and everyone have the choice to choose what kind of platforms they're using. So even if TikTok is banned and WeChat is banned from like government device under national security law, they can still be accessed by general public. So it's a matter of the public realizing that it's a threat to our individual and national security and not to use those kind of apps. So it's like, I personally support banning those kind of apps because they are controlled by a state authoritarianism that we have no control of what we can see or if we're being manipulated or what the algorithm is feeding us. This is different from like Western social media in general, which they have algorithm problem and manipulations issues too. But at least in, let's say, general Western social media, we have transparency policy, we have rule of law that the judiciary can reveal regulations on it. We have media as independent reviewer, or we have like independent fact checker. So we have multiple stakeholders that can help balance the control of a social media platform, which in like PRC information space, we don't have any of those. And when we tell the, let's say WeChat or Weibo to take down certain kind of disinformation or, not to manipulate, but it's a state of authoritarianism, they won't be hearing us. And this is not what they would be, agree to do so. So this is the kind of problems I think government and we ourselves have been facing. The second question is, Is it this one? Yeah. Okay.
There you go. It's from Anna.
That is really great question. What are the safeguards our electoral information when our own political party use disinformation against competing parties? I think when there's elections, people use disinformation against each other, but there should be principles like not too personal attacks based on unverified allegations, not a deliberate use of, let's say, deepfakes to defame their opponents, and also like a little bit of moral rules of not, using foreign state entities or great media or proxies to amplify your narratives and degrade your opponent.
Any follow-ups to questions online? So we can take it back into the room. Well, yeah,
Do we have to take this too, or?
Yeah, we have 2 more online, but yeah, maybe after we do in person.
Okay, we'll answer a few more in person, then we'll take it to the 2 online. Does anyone else in person? And also, just a reminder, please project your voice. It's very loud and big in this room. If anyone else in person has a question, yes, no, no, yes, yes.
How are we dealing with attribution? So how can you tell that a specific influence operation is from a specific state actor? How can you tell if it's Russia? How can you tell if it's PRC?
First of all, I think a lot of the Chinese information operations we can find on Chinese information space could have clear attribution. Like the examples I did just now, even though there's no labeling, but if you use open source intelligence to dig through the attribution, you can find its entity, or it is actually controlled by provincial government, Chinese state media, and such and such. It's just written in their homepage. So it's not that hard to find. But if you're talking about like the use of proxy, a great media, and that would require a little bit more digging. But I think in terms of Chinese disinformation, because they really like to boost it on social media platforms. So if you look carefully, you'll be able to find some kind of attribution.
Thanks for the presentation. I'm curious, I imagine with things like this, one of the big approaches that governments take is to fight fire with fire. I'm curious from the Canadian side, like what does the Canadian government do that's potentially similar in the direction of China to persuade the population there?
There are a couple of government departments and institutions that work on foreign information manipulation and interference, such as the SITE, which is an integration of government institutions that specifically monitor electoral interference during election cycle. There's also Rapid Response Mechanism Canada, which looks into disinformation and foreign interference in general. They've published a couple of reports and statements indicating there are information operations such as those targeting Michael Chong and Chrystia Freeland in the past few months.
And you say, please.
We're going to do 2 online, and then we'll take it to pitches.
All right. First question is from Dylan. How do you identify a specific piece of information as disinformation coming from the CPC?
I could also read them. Me talk? Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
This is from Dylan, asking, how do you identify a specific piece of information as disinformation coming from the CPC?
This question is a bit similar to the attribution question just now. I think, first of all, we have to look the source of this information. Where does it come from? Where is it originated? Is their accounts posting have attribution back to Chinese state media or Chinese state entities? I think if you use a bit of open source intelligence and a little bit of digging on the open web, you'll be able to find certain attribution coming up from PRC. And the other way to identify is that because PRC publish a lot of propaganda and have certain state narratives and general, disinformation kind of narratives. So if you're familiar with it and you look at the piece of information, you will be easily identifying certain narratives that align with the propaganda machine, and you'll be easier to locate where does that piece actually link back to, or amplifying certain state agency kind of speaking.
And then the final online question is from Timothy. The big challenge is AI generated content, which is created to scale up at high volume. Are there any groups you think are doing a particularly good job of using automation to detect fake content or falsely attributed content?
That is a good question. I think Matter released a couple of adversary report that they were able to detect certain kind of coordinated inauthentic behaviors. And one of them is the Splinterforge network that they have been deleting like thousands and thousands of accounts that link to that network. I think they're trying to do a detection mechanism for those kind of bot network or political spam network. But I think in general, no social media platform has done enough to combat disinformation and increase their transparency, especially, since the Trump era starts again. I think a lot of social media companies actually move backwards. Like Facebook right now, they're using community notes like Twitter does, which both amplify disinformation rather than helping to detect and identify them.